The next tweet of the week here is I definitely think we've broken the ice, and I do love the talk so far. But this was a great one you did here, Michael, about on May 18th. You go, it's none of my business, but I've now heard 4 different media people say NU isn't better talent-wise than last year. That's insanity. Either you are greatly overestimating last year's roster or haven't watched the guys coming in. We're better at wide receiver, running back, quarterback, D-line, outside linebacker, kickoff, punt return, basically the special teams there.
Yeah.
I think that's a great tweet. I think that's a great place to start from because really we're talking talent now. We're talking roster. Yes. And we know that we brought in a new staff. We need to develop players and all that good stuff. But at the very core of it, let's start with talent. Where are we at going into the 2022 season?
You know, I'm a draft guy. More than anything else in my life, the draft was a huge part of it. 1986, first year I got in the draft. Saints drafted Dalton Hilliard, Jim Dombrowski. It was a great draft for the Saints. It was the start of the Jim Moore era. And I realized right then, because they got better quickly, that the draft matters, right? And so from that moment, as a 16, 17-year-old, I immediately became a big fan of the draft. And so, yes, I look at talent based off of how many people you put in the NFL and how many get drafted. And you can say everything you want about last year's team and how good 24-year-old JoJo Doman was, or any of those guys, or any of those old people back in the secondary. Did they get drafted? The majority of them people did not get drafted. It was a draft where you had a guy from Montana who was your best wide receiver, right, get drafted late. But overall, there wasn't a lot of talent. An argument Damon and I have had over and over again. Yes, you want more talent. I believe that they needed to upgrade their talent severely to get to the point where they can compete at the top of the Big Ten West, not the whole Big Ten, just the Big Ten West. And I believe they have. And it doesn't matter that, let me say it this way. It may not work out. This crew, the last 5 or 6 years, horrible track record overall with junior college guys. Horrible track record. If you look at some of the guys, just horrible. You've had a couple hits. It's not like Bo. When Bo went in and got junior college guys, the majority of them hit, right? Just whatever luck it would. So it may not work out. But just talking pure talent, like guy to guy, O'Shawn Mathis compared to Ben Stilley. Again, love Ben Stilley, was a proponent of him getting an offer back out of Ashland, liked him as an outside linebacker. He was undersized and underwhelming as a pass rusher and as a talent on the edge. O'Shawn Mathis, much more talented, whether he's an outside linebacker, a defensive end, whether he is playing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 technique. I don't care. He's a more talented kid. So to position to position. Omar Brown, more talented than the guys they had last year. Will he play a lot? I don't know. Kid can't make grades. All I know is that he's more talented. There's more talent now in this short time they brought in than they've had the whole 5 years they've been here, in my opinion.
And you talked about, what this crew has done or hasn't done in the last 5 years with JUCO and players that they brought in. But the reality, too, is even that crew has changed. I mean, now we're dealing with – you think about Omar Manning, who, Rob, I know you loved him 2 years ago coming out of JUCO, right? The number one JUCO in the country. And he is certainly – he hasn't performed as the number one JUCO in the country coming in here. But – now he has Mickey Joseph working with him for the first time. Mickey Joseph certainly has a track record of doing things with receivers that we didn't have prior. I mean, I guess we get accused a lot on this show of pumping Kool-Aid and stuff. But look, I mean, there is talent and we've got good coaches. We have coaches that have demonstrated success at what they've done. I mean, Bill Bush is an example and Mickey Joseph. I mean, I love the story of them smoking a cigar in the national championship locker room after LSU won the title and saying, how cool would this be to do this in Lincoln? I mean, these are talented guys. A lot has to come together, but the talent, at least just starting at just talent alone, that's where I like that tweet that you had there is that to me, it feels like this is a step up. Mac, I mean, I imagine you're there.
I couldn't really argue with any of it. I mean, I'm never going to get worked up or too upset when off of a 3 or 4 win team, some guys transfer out, and then people get all, what are we going to do? I'm like, what do you mean we're going to do? We only won 3 or 4 games with them anyway. Can we upgrade that to do better? Yeah. I mean, quarterback is Casey better than Adrian? Maybe not, but I'll tell you, our depth behind him is for sure better than it was a year ago. With Purdy back there too, and then Henrik having another year. And we still have some others. So the quarterback position for sure, regardless if it's even if it was a swap between Adrian and Casey, the position group is better. So the competition will be better.
And I would always,
that's where it starts.
And it goes back to this crew, as you said, this crew, Michael, who's coaching quarterback right now? We have Whipple versus Verduzco. Is that a step up too? I guess just across the board. I mean, coaching talent matters too.
Yeah, I've always liked Mark Whipple. as a guy that's occasionally wagered on games, Mark Whipple was one of the most efficient offensive coordinator / head coaches. We're talking going back to UMass. When you're looking at totals, team totals, always very good. It's so funny because even before he was rumored to be a candidate for the job, this is a couple months before, we were back on Severe and Benny in the Morning. We were having a conversation with a guy who was talking about how Pitt had just exceeded the numbers from the year before and how Whipple had kind of gotten everything evened out on the offense. And it was funny. I just told Damon, I said, I've always loved this guy going all the way back to UMass. I know Damon liked him when he was the quarterbacks coach at Pittsburgh, the first couple of years of Ben Roethlisberger. And so we had this conversation, it was funny. And then 2 months later, all of a sudden he is the offensive coordinator. So I can say that I've always been a fan of the guy. I love the way he handles himself. I think he is a very good play caller. I am concerned a little bit because it's been a long time since a team in the Big Ten threw the ball more than they ran it and was successful. And that's Purdue with Drew Brees. And even though I like Casey Thompson and Brock Purdy, neither one of them are Drew Brees. So I think that he's going to have to run the ball more in the Big Ten than he did, obviously, at Pitt or any of the times during his career. That I have a concern about. But other than that, I like the way he sequences his play calling. I think he'll make Casey Thompson look like the quarterback he was during the successful times at Texas. I think he's going to do a good job.